Thank you, Pasco. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm going to be switching between English and Kiswahili. So to kick off my my discussion on this subject, I think we all understand that open internet is critical to freedom of expression and digital innovation. But I think for the context of Tanzania, the question that I've always been asking myself is, how do we as a country maintain uncensored internet, and how do we justify that regulated internet, the impact that regulated internet could have on the development. So that has been a huge dilemma for me. And another question that I've been asking myself, especially under this administration, not under this administration to be fair, from the last administration, especially the last term of President Kikwete, when we saw several legislations being taken to Parliament, and its implication to freedom of expression, especially online. So what implication does that have again in terms of how we interact as journalists, as normal citizens online, and whether that is going to close innovation space for internet. And I think my thoughts basically are divided into three different perspectives. If I say briefly, one, the growing trend that we saw in the final 5 years of President Kikwete, and that has became very, very strong since the current president came onto power, is that you at a dilemma where you know, people ask you if you don't feel threatened, you know, if you're not scared to post that line on your Twitter handle, on your Facebook handle. And we've gotten to a situation where everybody basically feels that they are being listened to, that probably you followed everywhere. I've talked to people who basically don't hold any public office, somebody who probably is a pet trader but is scared to tell you something on the phone because they feel they are being listened to. So that, in my opinion, has taken the country back to the 70s and 80s, where you couldn't make a political statement publicly because everybody felt that, you know, the administration of President Nyerere was listening to everybody. So that's one perspective. But another perspective is that we have seen the growth, tremendous growth in terms of people who are online, people who are using internet. But I think what we don't know is that whether the growth, you know, the demand has prompted the increase in innovation, internet innovation. I think that is another issue that is still debatable, because my own assessment is that majority of the people who are using internet, they don't use internet for their career growth. They don't, you know, they don't use internet for something that is constructive, to advocate for a certain cause that is aimed at helping the public, the people, you know, holding the government to account. You know, the culture is growing, but if you comparatively, if you look at the number of people who are online and the number of people who are trying to use the internet to do something that is tangible and significantly aimed at helping the country is quite low. So I think in terms of innovation, yes, growing, but the pace is still low. Because if you don't have enough demand, if you don't have the market, if you don't have the need, you know, why would people be innovating? Who would you innovate for if people there is no self-awareness that we need the technology to be able to address our day-to-day problems in health, in education. So there are gaps there, and I think for us to be able to address these gaps, we need to put more emphasis on educating the public to understand that, well, internet is not there for people to abuse each other. It's not there for people just to post nudity. It's just there for people to, you know, be able to move to the next level. On the other hand, we've seen government aggressively. The stories you hear on the government corridors, you know, sometimes are shocking, and I think the end users don't know exactly what the government is doing behind closed doors to find out what people are talking about, to find out what people are doing, you know, what people are discussing online, and I think the case studies we have had in the last few months of people being arrested because they are posting comments in WhatsApp groups, people being arrested because they expressed their feelings towards a certain government policy online, is you know, holding people back from expressing themselves and say exactly what the government needs to do for them. And on the other hand, I feel probably the government, rather than threatening people that they're going to be arrested, it should be working with the private sector and the equivalent of JamiiForums to say, look, we need to use this as a platform to get information from the public, to get the public feedback, because it's different from the 70s where you had to walk from village to village to get to understand what people think about a certain program the government is rolling out. Technology is helping government be able to get prompt feedback, and I think they need to capitalize on that, rather than, you know, instituting laws, arresting people, and holding everybody back. So the bottom line for me, my initial thoughts is that we are at a dilemma where exactly we don't know which route to take as a nation when it comes to, you know, freedom of expression, innovation, and the internet use. In one hand, you have majority of the people who don't know exactly what they should do with this technology, with the internet penetration. On the other hand, you have the government, you know, not basically teaming up with the private sector, with other people, try to see how they could use the internet to create, you know, a one-way traffic with the citizens. But on the other hand, you have the citizens worried that if I make that comment, if I ask a minister this question, will I be safe, or I might end up in prison tomorrow? Thank you very much.